To the show yet again. I'll start with Dr. Jane. Dr. Jane, what is grief and are there stages to grief?
A complex topic. People don't. When it comes to grief, it is a time when people are going through loss. They feel deprived from a significant something or a person that they were so intertwined with. As you know, when people are growing up, they form bonds. There is family bonding, friends, leagues, and when these bonds continue to grow, the more people become strong in relationships. And when this loss comes, it comes with now loss. Like the bonds are destroyed, and they are destroyed completely if it is about death. And this can bring a lot of jungle of emotions, frustrations, disappointments, and this is now what we call grief. When someone do a lot of deprivation and frustrations. Yes. When it comes to the stages of grief.
Before you even go to the stages, so it means the grieving can be done, okay, the bond can happen even to human and unhuman things.
Exactly. I have seen animals like grieve, like elephants, when they lose their babies. They even bury. They mourn. They almost cry, and they come together to console the mother who have lost the baby. So it can happen even to animals. Yes.
So what are some of the stages?
I think Rehab can continue from there.
Okay. Yes, like my colleague says, the issue of loss and grief is quite intense. And a psychologist called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross isolated 5 stages which somebody goes through in that time of grief. And there is the first stage which she named as denial. And this is the stage where one feels, no, it can't have happened. This is not true. That is the first stage. That is the stage of denial, the stage of wondering, what is this? What would I have done that I didn't do? That is the first stage of denial. And then after that stage, the second stage is anger, where somebody gets angry, where one is wondering, now, how can this happen? And one is angry with the doctors. You hear people say the doctor did not give proper attention. That hospital is not serious on the way they handle patients. They actually neglected our significant other. The people will even get angry with themselves. I should have done this. Look, I didn't do this. And they start beating themselves down. They can be angry with other significant people, like they will say, my brother was not even there to take this person to hospital. People can even be angry with God, and they are like, God really hates us. Why did he allow this? Why, take our significant person? And that is the stage of anger. So people get angry with everything. And then after that, there is the other stage of bargaining, where people start, bargaining. You bargain even with God. God, if you do this, I'll do this. If only this could happen, then I would do this. So that is the stage of bargaining. And then the fourth stage is the stage of depression, where somebody is like, now what else? What do I do? People just sink into that stage of...
So here acceptance has sinked in.
What?
No, in this stage of depression, acceptance has sinked in.
No, it has not sunk in. One is just now helpless and hopeless. It's like the void is felt, and that is a stage of sadness and hopelessness. You hear them say, I wish I could even die. There could be suicidal ideation. And then lastly, it comes to acceptance stage, where one now says, okay, it has happened, this is the will of God. You hear people say that, so it's the will of God. People always die. Yeah, so those are the 5 stages. However, it is good to note that these stages, though they are there, the 5 of them, may not come in sequence the way I've put them. They may not come in sequence. They may also not, it doesn't mean that they can take a specific time. It may take as long. One stage can take long, you know, and so on. So that is the issue about the stages of, you know, of mourning.
Okay. Dr. Sarah, are there societal factors that determine how one grieves?
Yes, indeed they are there, because one, it's good to note that grief is personal and unique. And so it's determined by several factors. For instance, it could be due to issues of religious and cultural factors, where different religions and different cultures grieve differently. There's also the issue of intimacy with the person that you have lost. The more the intimacy, the more the grief. So intimacy is one of the things that we know affect individuals. We also have maybe somebody who has experienced previous griefs. Yeah? They may have really gone through several losses, and so they might be in a position to manage even the one that might be experienced at the moment. There is also the issue of expectations. There are those losses that just happen abruptly. Those ones really hit people hard, yeah? But there is that one that you have already been prepared. Maybe an individual has been sick for long, and you have actually tried all that you could, and it seems there is no help coming on your way. So in such an experience where loss is expected, the grief is not as deep as it may have happened for somebody whom you had not known of their sickness. Maybe it's an accident or such kind of a thing. So that is also another factor. We also have issues of maybe where you come from. How do people behave? When such a thing happens, what happens? So those are some of the factors that affect individual ability or individual position in terms of grief. But as I said earlier, it's still personal and unique. You don't expect people to grieve the same way. People grieve differently. They could be in the same family, experiencing the same loss, but really the grief is different to each and every person. Yes.
Is it why we hear people say, you know, we didn't even see her crying, you know, because we expect grief in a certain way?
Exactly. There is that thinking. Would I call it a stereotype or a belief that when you are mourning, you should cry loudly, you should do, but people grieve uniquely. Yes.
So, Dr. Jane, is there a way to cope with the loss? And are there healthy and unhealthy ways of dealing with grief?
Yes, there are many ways to cope with loss. Mm-hmm. When the news of loss happens, sometimes it throws people into dissolution and they are not able to cope. But the best thing to do is to accept that the loss has happened, accept the help that is available so that you are able to function normally and not neglect the daily activities that you do. So when people are going through loss, they need to have faith in God. It's a way of coping, because studies shows that people who have faith, they recover better. It's good to ask yourself, what resources do I have around me? Do I have social support? The clergy, for instance, the family members and the friends. Just allow them to come in and give you a shoulder to lean on. Do I have the finances? One way of coping with loss is having enough resources to bury the person who has died and to plan for the burial. And it is very important to accept help from other people. Don't go for loans. If you have been helping other people, allow them to come in and help you. There are people who want to come and give some practical assistance, loaning, cleaning, and assisting in welcoming your guests. Yeah, this is a way of coping. You can listen to music that will build you up, that will motivate you, and just let that music play and meditate on the words maybe the good word that will give you encouragement. Self-care. I find people not even remembering to drink water or to eat healthy food. Sometimes they want to stay without, they forget that they are supposed to eat. So I tell people who are going through grief, eat every meal and eat healthy long enough to face the challenge that you are going through. Exercise, walk around. Don't just sit there and moan, and accept that things have changed and they are and just have faith. Yeah.
What about those who deal with it in an unhealthy way?
There are those people who deal with loss in an unhealthy way. Mostly, they take it so seriously. The emotions are too intense, so they get so sad. They cry uncontrollably, and it is good to cry. There are those who will not cry at all, which is also a bad way of coping with grief, because the bottled emotions of loss and grief still continue to be stored in the unconscious, and one time they will still come up. So you find somebody is just unhappy, they are going to depression because they never dealt with their loss, refusing to talk about the loss and sharing with the people who are around you. One way of actually dealing with loss is talking. Talk about your loss. Tell the people you trust. Let them listen. And let them just sit still there and listen to your story. And refusing to sleep, like the whole night vigil. And the brain becomes so overworked and tired. The following day you feel you have no energy. You get fatigued. It's important to plan your day, to plan your time, sleep normally, eat normally, and talk and share your loss. It will be easy.
For the biggest of guests, from politicians to entertainers to content creators to whichever kind of a person you want to think that you'd want to see on the show, this is the place to be. Dr. Funeke tonight.
Each and every Wednesday. My name is DJ Lizni, not your ordinary DJ.
And of course, they call me the eagle himself. Your host, Dr. Funeke, is my name. Of course, every Wednesday at 7:30. See you then. Don't touch.
Make sure to join us.
Tell your landlord as well. Jua unalipia wa parent.
Sikose.
From politics, health, cooking, relationships, and entertainment, join Linda Alela every weekday from 6 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Your health is not just about going to the hospital. Your health is about prevention, it's about what you eat, it's about where you live. For this reason, the Body Garage Show exists.
The part of the brain that deals with communication.
It's called primary hypertension, which means that we don't find a reason for that.
Join me, Dr. Chepsi, every Thursday, 8 p.m.
Don't expect. Maybe the person was a witch. he was doing bewitching kind of a thing. And maybe, but he's a relative to somebody. He's a father or he's a mother. He's a sister to somebody. So in such instances, again, you expect some people to do some hidden kind of a mourning. But as we have said, and as my colleagues have said, it's good to mourn. Whatever it may be, it's important to mourn because a loss is a loss and somebody has gone. Yes, there's no big or small losses. This is an individual whom you have stayed with, you have shared life with, you have had a relationship, and it can't be that anyone who has gone has just been on the long all the way. There are some also positive aspects that an individual may have brought into the family or to the society, and so we just feel that any time we lose a human being, it's a loss. So we expect to grieve. It's a soul's lost, so we expect to grieve. And so I think in such cases that when we see hidden grieving. But as I said earlier, the issues of culture, the issue of religion determines the kind of grieving one should have. But grieving should be unique and personal.
Dr. Jane, does grief only occur through death?
No. I think like my predecessors have said, loss comes in many fashions. Only like death is the most traumatizing and most painful because of the relationship and the bond. We have other losses like retirement, people who are not ready to retire, and they go through feelings of loss of friends, colleagues, the money they were used to, and the life they used to lead when they were working. We have divorce. You've lived with someone for 10, 20, 50 years, and you are used to them. And all of a sudden you are not together. Separation, and there are so many other things that cause like this bankruptcy. It's a form of loss, or something precious that you really value. It may be even like theft. People came and stole your precious items. You are going through loss. When we have this things that happen today in the society, like fires, you lose a home, disasters, you lose your health, whereby now you realize that it is not the way you used to be. You lose your sight, you lose part of your body. So loss comes in many style and many fashion. But the worst of it is now death, followed by divorce and separation. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Rahab, just following up on what Dr. Jane has said, she's talked about different forms of losses, and now in this particular question, in terms of the categories, we have spouses, parents, children, and friends. Does it affect people differently when it's the different relationships?
Loss, and like we said earlier, it is followed by grief. It's a journey. And it is normally a personal journey for every individual. And people are made differently. They are maybe they have different way of handling things, and you'll find that the way somebody will mourn will be different. Like I said, it is a personal journey for everybody. So you'll find that depending on who somebody has lost, the kind of mourning will be more intense, especially if it is a spouse, a child, a parent, those people that are very, very significant in life. You realize that the way people will grieve will be different. And again, it will depend on individuals. However, it may not be related to the way somebody maybe will manifest it physically, like we had said. Somebody could be having that intense kind of grief, but they will not show it physically. They will not cry loudly, they will not roll, they will not shout, but they are going through very intense moments. And so people may judge depending on what they see, the behavior they see, but that could not be really what is happening to a person. But everyone is mourning, but differently. There are some people who are very good at physically manifesting the loss, and they'll behave, given ways. And in some places, the culture will allow you to just manifest this grieving in diverse ways. And it will depend on individuals. So somebody is going through their mourning and their grieving quietly, but it is quite intense. Others are manifesting it in that physical way, also in a very intense way, but all of them are grieving. They are taking their journey individually in their own way, the best way they know how. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Sarah, as a society, how can we help someone who's going through grief and loss?
I think I would say that, as it has been said by my colleagues, there is no one who is so strong to say that they don't experience the loss. There is no one. It doesn't matter maybe whatever strata one is. There is no one time you'd say you are so strong. And so it's at this time that the time of grief and loss is when you really need support. And you need this support from the society. And in this case, I find that it's very important that you accompany this person who is experiencing grief. I think we need to see that this person is accompanied, the person is given support, and as my colleague has said, ensure that they get all the requirements. Like, for example, they are eating well and they are also taking care of themselves well. We also need to be together with them as they do the planning of maybe the burial issues. That is the time they need your support, because they may not be really sober to think properly. So at this time they expect somebody to run through with them how you plan, how you expect the services to be, what you need to do, for example, at the place where the body has been rested. So you need somebody to accompany you in the planning, and at the same time financial support. Issues of funeral arrangements today are very expensive, and we know that we are in the hard economic times. So support is very important. At this time, we expect people to give financial support. At the same time, we also need the person to explore options. Maybe in their grieving period, they need professional help, where they need to be counseled, they need to be having people to help them through the journey. So in this case, you can help them access professional counseling services where they can be guided and they can be counseled and be able to come into terms with the grief that they are going through. So basically, it's a time you need people most. It's a time you need your friends, it's a time you need your relatives, it's a time you need your religious readers, because in most instances you need the people to let you go through the journey even spiritually. So in this case you need spiritual leaders. So that's when we need to be there for this person and be in the home compound and take them through the journey. So society is very important at this time when we accompany this family or the person who is experiencing grief. Yes.
Dr. Rahab, as we wrap up briefly, when should one seek professional help?
Concerning grief and loss for that matter, one should seek professional help as soon as possible. People have not known how important it is to be able to seek professional help. And so that makes them sometimes get into maybe what we would call, that difficult mourning, whereas they would have been helped, and they can seek professional help from a counselor. They could also seek professional help from those around them. Even that social support is professional help, and it is very, very necessary to have that kind of help. And that is why you find that in Africa, I think people have learned this. And the first thing that happens is that when one experiences loss, there is that, the people start gathering to give them support. And that is very professional. Just people around there to sit with the person, help them where necessary, cook for them, remind them to eat, remind them for self-care, maybe pray with them. And all that kind of help is very important. It would be very difficult if somebody went through a loss and sat there all alone and didn't have anybody to help them. So it is important to have that professional help and even social support immediately when loss happens. So it should be done. People should seek that help as soon as possible. It is necessary as soon as possible. Yes.
More than optional, it's not optional.
It's not optional. is not optional, it's a necessity.
Give us a parting shot as we close the show.
The topic we have just had is a great topic, and we need to know that losses are not only experienced when it comes to death. We have different ways or different losses that we experience in everyday lives. Every day we have experiences some losses, but I would wish that everyone seek spiritual help and speak out when you are grieving. Speak out when you feel the loss. That is when you will be helped. But when you are quiet, when you are just dull, you are not saying whatever you are going through, that is again another moment that you will get yourself into another drain. So it's important that we speak out. Speak out if you're going through loss. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much for making time. That's all the time we had